Today on Mix Red and Blue, we'll be talking about biodegradation, which is a fancy term for another recycling process on a molecular level. Fun fact for you, we've been recycling instinctively since the 1800s, and the concept of biodegradation was first introduced in the 80s. I myself had learned about recycling through elementary education and Captain Planet. And while this method shows improvement of the environment back then, is this process still as effective? As I said, biodegradation is a process, and it has 4 known breakdowns, the main one having to do with bacteria. Since biodegradation is all about waste dismantlement through the means of nature, there are other common ways of the breakdown process, such as carbon monoxide, water, and direct sunlight. Biodegradation is currently being executed in many fields as well, those being of the natural environment, in ecology, in waste management, and in biomedicine. Now you're probably wondering, where are these new age materials created by this method? They are in many of our everyday plastics, such as bottles and containers for lotions, shampoos, and the like, the air pillows, bubble wraps that are used for shipping, the standard plastic bags, even ones used by Fido, our fruit containers, known as punnets, and various office supplies. Now, paper is the most common, but they have created pens through this method. Even most of our medical supplies circulating in hospitals and private practices are made from this method, as well as the gelatin capsules that have made pills easier to swallow. Now, a good thing coming out of biodegradation is that those everyday products have created out of non-toxic and renewable raw materials, such as orange peels, corn oils, soybeans, just to name a few. Another positive is that it is eco-friendly, causing the reduction of greenhouse gases and fossil fuels. There are also waste incineration plants to help further along the process safely. But like most solutions, there's also a downside. The biggest and the most talked about of any new venture is the overall costs that are associated with it. The biodegradation method has a very slow disposable rate. As such, releasing a compound known as methane gas for our landfills. Even though toxic, it still has immense value. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency had recently done an estimate of landfill productivity. And while some go above and beyond, there are others that don't have the funds nor the expansion to begin collections. It had been found out that 35% of our landfills could properly capture the toxin. 34% not only contained it, but safely burned it off the access at the site. However, the remaining 31% of landfills do not capture methane at all, and the possible conclusion to that could be that replacing the machines is difficult without additional funding. As we have established, without proper containment, there will be a steady increase of methane exposure in the area. Another problem is that biodegradation needs a wide spread of land far away from civilization. However, this has been proven difficult to find such places. One other issue is under the surface. As stated at the beginning of this presentation, this method is done on a molecular level. However, there is an ongoing risk of contamination, as there is confusion for the bacteria between what is biodegradable and what isn't. Without that clear distinction, corroded metals can mix into the final products. Lastly, the answer to a very popular question. If we are recycling, why are our oceans still polluted with plastics? I have explained earlier that water is one of the most common breakdown uses of biodegradation. However, the ocean temperature is way too cold. The water needs to be between 50 to 60 degrees Celsius for the process to work effectively. If you remember, I had also said that the concept was brought up in the 80s. So why is the science of it not common knowledge? I mean, we learned about reduce, reuse, recycle, right? How come no one taught us about this pearl of wisdom? Other than our short attention spans, the theory to these questions could be that knowing how it's done may give us mental complacency. Once we were shown that recycling had benefits, we went overboard over the years. So if people found out about biodegradation without fully understanding that it is a slow process, what you see here may quadruple to a point where we'll have no streets to drive on, no sidewalks to walk on, and don't get me started when talking about the summer and winter months. Right now, there have been inventions like GEM or genetically engineered microorganisms, which are made to target the biodegradable waste more accurately. It is still in beta testing, so no one really is relying on this just yet. And since federal regulations don't require landfills to collect methane, there are those that are fighting to have that regulation revoked and insist on landfills expansions to have the machines designed for slow degradation on site. So as an individual, how can you help? Well, unfortunately, that remains to be seen. The cause and effect is due to recycling. So unless you're a future biochemist that made some sort of plastic-eating acid with no side effects to the surrounding areas, it looks like we're stuck. And with that, this ends the presentation on biodegradation.